The top business stories live from the Sky Newsroom. 11-hour talks intensify between Downing Street and Washington as the Prime Minister hopes to agree a carve-out to Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. Utility bills, council tax, car tax, broadband and stamp duty all going up today in a blow to the nation's personal finances. Plus, from rich to richer, Forbes releases its annual billionaire list of the world's wealthiest people. But does Donald Trump make it all? Very good morning and welcome to Business Live with me, Darren McCaffrey. Well, as President Donald Trump prepares to announce a raft of tariffs in the White House tomorrow, talks between London and Washington are intensifying to secure exemptions for British goods. Prime Minister's spokesperson has told reporters that the UK is preparing for all eventualities, but that the government does still expect to be impacted by those sanctions. Well, our data and economics editor, Ed Conway, has been looking at the impacts this could well all have on the global economy.
We are in the build-up to Liberation Day. April the 2nd, Donald Trump says this is going to be the biggest moment for tariffs. And in the meantime, all sorts of things are happening in the global economy as people adjust towards what might happen with tariffs. Take gold. This is just showing you how much gold is leaving the UK, the vaults in London, and going to the US. And it's been relatively low for all this time, going back to 2005. Look at what happened after the election. Look at that line. And we've never seen anything like this at all. An extraordinary exodus of gold from the UK to the US. Again, because people are trying to work out what's going to happen next. So what will happen next? Well, no one knows. No one knows. A lot of people in the White House don't seem to know. They don't know what the level of tariffs are going to be. They don't know which countries are going to be faced by them. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, has talked about a dirty 15 countries which are going to be faced with these tariffs. But who are the dirty 15? Again, we don't know. This is a guess, OK? But it's the best guess that's out there right now, which says the top 15 nations that have trade surpluses with the US, so you've got China, the EU, Mexico, Vietnam, all the way down there to South Africa, that they're the dirty 15. But again, no one knows, because maybe you're not just treating the EU as a region, maybe you're splitting it up, in which case it looks slightly different. You've got Ireland and Germany there, but the constituent parts of the dirty 15 are different. No one knows. What we do know right now is that these are the level of tariffs, or at least this is where they were before Donald Trump came in this presidency. That line there is showing you it's 48%. It's the...
OK, we're just going to interrupt Ed there for a second and go to Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative leader, who is speaking alongside the Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride, talking about Labour's jobs tax, that increase in national insurance today. Let's have a listen in.
They looked the British public in the eye and said, trust us. But now they've broken that promise in the worst way. This is a fundamental breach of trust. They hiked taxes on farmers. They introduced a jobs tax that is killing businesses. They even snatched away pensioners' winter fuel payments, despite their promise to protect them. And who is paying the price? You are. Even the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility is clear. Labour's jobs tax will hit workers, not just businesses. And the real cost? By the end of this Parliament, families across Britain will be £3,500 worse off. That is not a small cut. That's food on the table. That's energy bills. That's rent or a mortgage payment. Labour ministers think this is pocket money. Just this morning, the Prime Minister was boasting that he had given people a pay rise. He does not get it. Why are we in this mess? Because Labour simply do not understand how the economy works. They think government creates growth. It doesn't. Business does. Businesses create wealth, which means more money in the pockets of workers and more money for public services. Without business, there is no growth and there are no jobs. And yet, instead of helping businesses, Labour is hammering them with a £25 billion tax rate. The result of the jobs tax? Lower wages, fewer jobs, and more businesses going under. The evidence is clear. The OBR shows that the vast majority of the jobs tax will be passed on to workers in lower wages, and this will lose an average family over £3,500. It'll mean more businesses collapsing. Tesco, Sainsbury's, Sky, Stellantis, they're cutting staff. And a Bank of England survey found that 54% of businesses now expect lower employment. Lower employment means that the problem is going to get worse as fewer people earn a living. The response from Labour ministers just this morning is that people shouldn't be so pessimistic. They might as well say, suck it up. The jobs tax is hitting so many. It's hitting part-time work. Businesses now face extra costs for hiring part-time staff. And it means cuts to vital services, schools, councils, and healthcare. The jobs tax hits pharmacies, GP surgeries, children's hospices. Labour refused to exempt them despite our calls. This is what happens when you punish business. You don't just hurt CEOs and boardrooms. You hurt ordinary working people. The most frustrating thing is that this was not inevitable. It did not have to happen. We warned them. Businesses warned them, and yet Labour refused to listen. Now it's working families who will suffer. This jobs tax is a tax on your pay packet, a tax on those who work hard, do the right thing, and want a better future for their children. I know what it is like to struggle to get by, to make ends meet, to have to make difficult decisions because I was worried about money, to have to choose between eating or taking the bus. I cannot imagine losing £3,500 at a time when people are trying to save for deposits, pay mortgages, deal with soaring bills. Under Labour, from today, household bills will shoot up by over £1,000 this year alone. And don't just take my word for it. Business leaders are speaking out. Over 200 major restaurants, pubs and hotels have warned Labour that their budget will cost jobs. Over 80 retail leaders have warned that it will slow pay growth, cause shop closures. Even some of Labour's own business backers now feel betrayed. Because their approach isn't just economic mismanagement, it's economic vandalism. The Conservative Party is under new leadership. We did not always get everything right, but fundamentally, we as a party believe in lower taxes and better public services. We believe in the people who built businesses from nothing to give back to their communities. We believe in the people who took risks, tried something new, and built a legacy for the next generation. Labour don't understand what it means to take a risk, to meet a payroll, to grow an enterprise. Most of Labour's cabinet have barely worked for a business, let alone built one. They have no idea about the hard graft it takes to run small business. To them, national insurance is just another line item on a budget page. They are so busy spending other people's money that they don't think about the impact of their decisions on those who are working hard, taking risks, and trying to get on with their lives. The result? Lower growth, lower wages, lost jobs. Labour did not listen to business. Will they listen to the families now paying the price? Because if they don't fix this, we will. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kemi. Labour said at the election they would not raise national insurance. And Rachel Reeves has repeatedly claimed that she is not raising taxes on working people. She said so just last week. The analysis we are setting out today lays bare the truth of this matter. Working people are worse off under Labour. The Chancellor's job tax will cost working families £3,500 over the course of this Parliament. This is based on numbers taken directly from the government's own independent forecaster, the Office for Budget Responsibility. So let me set out how that figure is calculated. The OBR produced estimates for how much revenue will be raised by the jobs tax in each financial year up to 2029-30. From those figures, we have subtracted the amounts which the OBR says will be needed to compensate public sector employers to give a net revenue figure. We have then applied to this the OBR's estimates for how much of the cost is passed through to workers each year in the form of lower wages, which from next year onwards is 76%. When that total reduction in wages is divided across all working households, the result is a cost of just over £3,500 for every working family in this country. That official OBR analysis is published in black and white for all to see. They are clear that they expect the majority of the costs to be borne ultimately by workers through their pay packets. And the Bank of England have come to the same conclusion. This was a particularly bad tax to increase because of the ripple effects it has across the whole economy. It is not just lower wages. Employers are being forced to shed jobs, hike up prices or shelve investment plans to cope with the costs. It is a ticking tax time bomb due to detonate in just 5 days' time. And it will have a disproportionate impact on specific groups and sectors, especially because Labour have chosen to slash the threshold for paying employer NICs as well as increasing the rate. That means lower paid and part-time workers, disproportionately likely to be young and to be women, are hit the hardest. And sectors which rely on those workers or are particularly labour-intensive bear the brunt of the cost. That includes retail, hospitality and leisure businesses, sectors which are also seeing their business rates bills rise today by 140%. The impact on our high streets could be devastating. Retailers, including Sainsbury's, Tesco and Morrisons, have already responded by cutting staff. And Hospitality UK estimate 750,000 jobs will be dragged into the tax net in their sector alone. These costs come on top of a litany of other extra burdens being imposed on businesses all at once. And it comes at a time of huge uncertainty around trade, around our national defence, and the implications for inflation and interest rates. Our economy is in a fragile position when it comes to weathering those headrooms, thanks to the crippling burdens imposed on businesses and households by this Labour government. Working families will pay the price for all of this. While the jobs tax eats away at their pay packets, Labour are also stoking inflation. Today's bills have risen for millions of families by more than £1,000. That, of course, affects pensioners too, who face rising energy bills while winter fuel payments have been snatched away. Another broken promise. The OBR now expect inflation this year to be more than double their estimate at the last Conservative budget in March of last year. And as both they and the Bank of England have said, government policies directly contributing to the rising cost of living, both via their reckless borrowing spree and via the costs imposed through their tax rises. And higher inflation also means higher interest rates hitting mortgage holders. Labour want you to believe their tax rises are not hitting working people, that they are magically absorbed by businesses with no knock-on impacts on the people they employ or the things that they sell. The reality is families face a double hit from this Labour government, lower incomes thanks to the jobs tax and higher prices as well. We will all end up poorer thanks to their mismanagement and broken promises. We simply cannot afford Labour.
OK, that was Mel Stride, of course, the Conservatives' Shadow Chancellor, and Cammy Bednock, the Conservative leader, addressing commentators and indeed fellow Conservatives, talking about Labour's so-called job tax today. That is the increase in national insurer contributions for employers, effectively making it more costly to employ people. Let's bring in Ali Fortescue, who is our political correspondent and joins us. Ali, I mean, we've heard these attack lines before, but the main argument from the Conservatives really is that this is proving and will prove to be a drag on the economy.
Yes, and look, I think this is a Conservative leader who's faced criticism for not being visible enough and not taking the attack to the Labour Party, so that is what she is trying to do today. Her and her shadow chancellor, Mel Stride, of course, a man who wanted to be the Conservative leader himself, saying this is an immigration week, as the government wants to talk about immigration this week, but this is economy week. Awful April is how they're branding it. They want to talk about household bills going up. We know energy, water bills, of course, going up today. She talked about the need for people to put food on the table, energy bills, rent. She says, I know what it's like to struggle to get by. And of course, Kemi Badenoch's spoken in the past about her time working in McDonald's. She was, however, ridiculed for suggesting that therefore made her working class. But she clearly wants to tap into her own personal experience. And she also wanted to talk, and this was kind of the main message from that conference, she wanted to talk about what they call Labour's job tax. You could see that brandished behind her and on the podium. This, of course, is the national insurance, as you say, national insurance for employers. It's coming in on the 6th of April. She said that the Labour Party had a choice. They were warned, she says. So, yeah, as you say, this is they're trying to get ahead of the 6th of April and trying to land some blows on the opposition. Quite different from some of the appearances we've seen from the Conservative leader recently, where she's want to talk more about policy. And when I say policy, I mean not actual specific policy. She wants her party and the public to wait for that, but she wants to set out sort of ideas like scrapping net zero and talking about various subjects that she thinks are important to the public. But she does, I think, face a bit of a problem in her own party. There are those who think that she is not cutting through as she should be by now with the general public. She obviously has a problem to her right from Reform, who continue to threaten the two-party dominance. We have seen them once again neck and neck in a poll with the Labour Party and the Conservatives, all around similar position, ahead of the Reform Party, ahead of the Conservatives, and the Lib Dems, I should say, yesterday launching, saying that they're the launching for the local election, saying they're the party of Middle England. So this is a Tory leader trying, and some in her party saying struggling to cut through.
OK, Ali, as always, thank you very much indeed, Ali Fortescue there from Westminster. Let's go back now to our top story. That is, of course, Donald Trump, his tariffs, the big announcement tomorrow. Let's speak to Eric Hirsch. He is co-chief executive of Hamilton Lane, a private market investment firm, and is live for us in Pennsylvania this morning. Very good morning, very good early morning to you, Eric. We were talking earlier with our economics editor about what is going to happen tomorrow. He says he doesn't know. He claims that people in the White House don't know. Dare I ask, do you know?
I think this is one of the challenges, and nice to be back with you, Darren. We're talking too much right now about tariffs as taxes. I think we should be talking a lot more about tariffs as tactics. That right now, this is all a negotiating tactic. And right now, because no one seems to know what levels, what countries, it's going to be easy for all kinds of parties to declare victory at some point here. And so right now, this is about us needing to wait and see what is actually getting put on the table, what is actually going to stay on the table, and what is going to be our new reality.
But in saying that, the reality is, though, and I get it, you know, it is clear he's used, even in the last couple of months, tariffs as a way to pressurise countries to do certain things. That is President Trump, of course. But from an ideological point of view, Eric, if you like, he is also a fan of this. He does think it will work in terms of returning jobs back to the United States and bringing about more economic growth at home.
Well, I think he's right about that. I mean, we've already seen that. You've already seen a lot of announcements from major companies about reshoring back to the U.S., putting more manufacturing and more jobs here. And so from his perspective and from the administration's perspective, they've already seen some early victories about businesses rethinking kind of their supply chain, their manufacturing positioning. And so I think we're going to continue to see more of that. This is sort of back to that sort of nightmare you had in high school of trying to solve that multivariable calculus calculation. Too many variables right now to actually drill in on that. And the whole chessboard is sort of constantly shifting. But what we see for sure is that A, you see certain countries willing to negotiate, And B, you see a number of companies already making moves about where they're going to put jobs and manufacturing, and a lot of that looks like that's coming back to the U.S.
Now, it's interesting you talked about, I used the word tax earlier. I mean, there are implications to this for the American consumer. I mean, Donald Trump's alluded to this, hasn't he? He talked about a little disturbance, if you like. Effectively, at least in the short term, it's going to mean some higher prices. It may well lead to higher inflation. Do you think the American public are prepared for that?
I don't. I think right now we already have an inflation issue that hasn't quite gone away. You see signs of it ebbing in certain areas, but generally you still see prices high. You see the American consumer sort of disgruntled and uncertain. We're already seeing luxury spending dropping. So we've already seen a reduction in travel spending, vacation spending, and sort of non-essential goods spending. So the consumer is already telling you very clearly that they are weakening a bit and they are concerned. And so no, I do not think there's going to be an unlimited amount of patience. Now, this is sort of a race as to what's sort of happening on sort of short term and long term. So if we sort of see inflation happening for the next couple of months as a result of the tariffs, but you also see huge amount of new job creation coming into the country, those could really offset each other from a consumer sentiment standpoint.
Eric, it is always a pleasure, and we will wait and watch for tomorrow. That's Eric Hurst there live as the day breaks in Pennsylvania. Thank you. OK, let's bring you some breaking news. That's around the football regulator. Mark Lyman, as always, has the scoop for us today. Mark, what have you got for us?
Yeah, Darren, at a time when Sir Keir Starmer's administration is seeking to pare back the power of economic regulators, a lot of attention is being focused on the establishment of a new watchdog, and that is the independent football regulator, which will be created once a bill that's passing through Parliament at the moment becomes law. Now, the question that's on many people's lips at the moment is who is going to head this new football regulator? And what I can reveal this morning is that another candidate in the frame being considered by Whitehall officials to become the inaugural chair of the independent football regulator is a man called Professor Sir Ian Kennedy. Now, he doesn't appear to have any credentials in football, but he does have an extensive track record as a regulator and as a public figure heading government-commissioned and public inquiries. Now, his most prominent previous role, Darren, appears to have been his chairmanship for 7 years of the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority. Now, that was set up in the wake of the MP's expenses scandal. Professor Sir Ian joins Christian Purslow, the former Aston Villa and Liverpool chief executive, and Sanjay Bandari, who is the chairman of the anti-racism football charity Kick It Out, on the short list of candidates to chair the new football watchdog. It does appear to be taking a long time to get this chair appointed. My understanding is that the government was hoping to announce somebody before the start of last month. The process is dragging on, and there will be continuing questions about whether the football regulator's powers are going to be scaled back in the wake of recent media reports and in the context of this broader push by the Labour government to restrict and restrain the scope of Britain's economic regulators as it tries to jumpstart growth in Britain's economy.
OK, Mark, great stuff as always, and you get more on that story indeed on the Sky News app. Mark Lyman there, thank you. Now, there are more billionaires than ever. Apparently, a record-breaking 3,028 of them. That is 247 more than last year. That's according to this year's Forbes billionaires list, which totals their combined wealth at, wait for it, $16.1 trillion US dollars. Who's got the top spot? You might be able to guess. Elon Musk is back top. Let's speak to the person who's going to tell us the ins and outs of all of this, the executive editor at Forbes. That is Louisa Krull. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Elon Musk is back on top, it seems.
He is back on top. He's actually up $100 billion from last year. It's crazy. And a lot of that has been since the election, even with Tesla imploding in the past couple of months. You look net, in September when we last looked at him, he was significantly lower. He's $244 billion. Now he's over $342 billion. And that's the first time we've ever had anybody over 300 billion. It's crazy. I was looking back at the history. He was at 25 billion at the start of COVID.
Wow. I mean, that is just astronomical, isn't it? Crazy, I think is quite a good word for it. And as you say, this comes at a time in which, Tesla's lost quite a lot of its value in recent months, but he's got lots of companies and he's clearly connected to the world's most powerful man, Donald Trump. And that doesn't do any harm, does it, in some ways? In some ways.
No, actually, it's been very good for him financially. I think he put in roughly $200 million into the campaign, and the gains that he's made are billions higher than that. So it's, again, as I said, if you look at Tesla is up 50% year over year. It soared after the election. He hit 400 billion at one point towards the end of the year. It softened. It's definitely down. I'm sure Tesla investors are not happy. But for Elon Musk, it's just another day, and he continues to just grab.
Yeah. And what about his best mate at the moment, Donald J.
Mr. Trump?
Yes.
Donald Trump, yes.
He's doing pretty well for himself too.
Yes, he's more than doubled his fortune. He's worth 5.1 billion. He's now ranked number 700 in the world. That's more than double where he was. He was at 1,400 something last year. And again, it was mostly him orchestrating it. He took his Truth Social parent company public right around a year ago, and that has added more than $2 billion to his fortune. He also sold a crypto token that these people can't even resell, and he pocketed several $100 million from that. Mar-a-Lago is up as more people want to go visit him at his Florida club.
Yeah. He's doing well. And just very finally, Louisa, if we can, who's caught your eye more than anyone else? Has someone done really, really well who's kind of shot up from mid-table to near the top? What other characters have you been looking at?
Well, we've been paying a ton of attention to the crypto folks because, whether it's Mark Zuckerberg, not the crypto folks, sorry, the AI folks.
The tech bros.
The tech bros. It's really crazy. That group as a whole has done better than anybody else, whether it's Mark Zuckerberg shooting up to number 2 for the first time ever, or whether it's the youngest billionaire in the world, the youngest self-made billionaire in the world, Alexander Wang of Scale AI. Then we've got the Anthropic folks. It's just, that also is an area that's really exploding.
Okay.
Something like auto manufacturing or manufacturing as a whole.
Okay. We can only look on in envy in many ways, can't we? Louisa Kroll, live for us there in New York. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you. There you go. Well, in contrast to that, coming up at midday here on Sky, of course, we're going to talk about the cost of living crisis, or the cost of living going up today, given those bills that have increased, and indeed taxation for some. Do stay tuned for that with Gareth. But for Business Live, that's it from me for the moment. We're back, of course, at 4:30 this afternoon. Do join me then if you can. But as I say, Gareth's up next with the rest of the news. Have a good afternoon. See you a bit later.